Hello, fellow drifters. It's been a while, but I'm back now. Your neon oasis in the desert of the dark. The voice that speaks to you from the other side. If you enjoy these stories, leave a like and subscribe. I had a friend over last night. We ran into each other earlier in the day, and we made plans to have dinner together. She comes over and we hang out on the couch for around an hour, just chatting and whatnot. I stand up because I get a phone call, so I go into my bedroom for around 10 to 15 minutes. When I return, she's not there anymore. Okay, so she's in the bathroom, right? I sit on the couch to wait for her, but she doesn't come out. I go check on her. The bathroom is empty. Now I'm weirded out. Did she leave for no reason? I didn't hear the door open or close, and I have a pretty heavy door. I even go outside into the hallway to check if she was there for some reason, but she's just promptly disappeared. So now I'm thinking she left for whatever reason, so I call her. It rings for a while and she picks up. Immediately I think it's weird. If she left my flat, she should be on the street, but it's very quiet wherever she is and she sounds like she just woke up. I ask her why she left my flat and she had no idea what I was talking about. I get frustrated and ask where she is. I'm at home taking a nap. Your phone call woke me up. I could hear rustling sheets, and as I said, there's no way her side of the phone call would be so quiet if she just left my flat. I live in a busy area. I request to video call her, and there she is, in her home, in her bed. She has no makeup on. She's in her PJs, looking confused, and her eyes are still kind of puffy from sleep. I ask her if she remembered coming to my flat. She looked confused. Did we make plans today? She said that after running into me, all we did was chat, say goodbye, and then she went home to take a nap. Obviously, there's no way she got home, removed her makeup, undid her hair, and changed her clothes within 15 minutes. She lives like half an hour away from me. I have no clue what to think of it. So it was a rainy Saturday. The rain was on and off, and I was darting through the street, quickly grabbing the things I needed so I could spend the rest of the day snuggled indoors. I walk out of the pharmacy. The next thing I needed to do was source some packaged air-drying clay from the shop called The Works. It's pouring with rain, but I distinctly remember looking up at the sign that said The Works as I walked towards it and noticed a man with a blue coat and a mop of blonde hair standing with a pram, sheltering from the rain in the doorway. I walk in and the lighting is bright, and I realize that I'm in a shop that's a few doors up from The Works. I turn around to leave. I notice the guy is no longer standing in the doorway. This did set me off kilter, but I put it down to maybe I wasn't paying full attention and mistook my surroundings. I approach The Works, and in the doorway of the shop, I shit you not, the same man was standing with a pram, taking shelter just in the doorway of the shop. The same man from the last one. I suppose it's possible I could have mistook my surroundings, saw the gentleman with the pram, and whilst I was readjusting to my surroundings, he left before I did and took shelter at The Works. But when I entered the first shop, I remember noticing the sign of the shop and could have bet all my money I was about to enter The Works. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. So this happened about a week ago, and it's still messing with my head. I was at my friend Mark's place, just a normal hangout. Video games, snacks, background music, the usual. His roommate, Jenna, popped into the living room, and we started to talk about this old cartoon we all used to watch as kids. I specifically remember saying, "Dude, the theme song was such a banger," and Jenna replying, "Right?" And the villain's name was like Sludge or something. We laughed, went down this nostalgic rabbit hole for like 10 minutes. I even pulled up a YouTube clip to prove the theme song slapped. It was one of those really vivid shared memory moments. Flash forward 2 days, I'm back at Mark's and Jenna walks in. I reference the cartoon conversation, say something like, "I still have that stupid theme song stuck in my head thanks to you guys." She just stares at me, Mark too. Then she says, "What are you talking about?" I remind them of the chat, exact quotes, YouTube video, everything. Mark swears Jenna wasn't even home that night. I checked my phone. The video history? Gone. I never searched it. Even the couch pillow I remember tossing at Jenna when she got the villain's name wrong was on the opposite end of the room, like it hadn't been touched. I don't know if I dreamed it, hallucinated it, or slipped into some alternate thread of reality for 10 minutes. But whatever happened, it felt real, like too real. Anyways, just throwing this into the void to see if anyone else has ever had a phantom memory that refuses to let go. It's a quiet fog-draped fall night here in rural Maryland, the kind that settles into your bones and brings old memories drifting back. Nights like this always remind me of something strange I experienced about 4 years ago. I've never really had an explanation for it, but I've never quite shaken it either. There was a stretch of back road I used to run along regularly, winding through farmland and patches of woods. About halfway down the route stood an old schoolhouse, brick, 2 stories, probably built in the 1920s. It had been out of use since the early 90s, or so I'd been told. Before that, it had served as both an elementary school and later a daycare. By the time I moved to the area, it was nothing more than a boarded-up shell, roof sagging in places, paint peeling, vines creeping up the walls. Most days, it just blended into the overgrowth. One evening in October, I got home later than usual and decided to run anyway. The air was thick and damp, the kind of chill that carries the smell of wet leaves. I left without much thought, no flashlight, no reflective gear. The sky was low and heavy, and a soft drizzle started as I turned onto the road near the school. That's when I noticed something strange. The building was lit up. Warm light spilled faintly from several of the first-floor windows. Not bright, more like the soft glow of an old fluorescent bulb or desk lamp, but unmistakably there. The front steps, usually cracked and crumbling, looked somehow less so. And there was the faintest trace of music, like a children's song, carried on the damp wind. I slowed down as I approached. In the fog, shapes moved behind the glass, blurred, like people walking through a hallway. Shadows crossed briefly in front of a window, and then vanished again. Then I saw the schoolyard. There were children, 5, maybe 6 of them, moving slowly near the swing set. The swings creaked just slightly, though there was no wind. I couldn't hear them speak or laugh, but they looked like they were playing. A little girl ran in a circle. A boy crouched by what looked like an old toy truck. It wasn't chaotic, not even energetic. Just quiet, calm, unsettlingly so. One of them turned toward me. I couldn't see her face clearly, just the pale outline of it, tilting upward, watching. There was something too still about her, too deliberate. I felt something tighten in my chest. It wasn't fear exactly, but something close, a kind of dread without explanation. I ran past the school faster than I meant to, barely breathing, my footsteps dull against the wet road. Only when I reached the next bend did it hit me how wrong it all was. The building had been abandoned for years, no power, no staff, no children, and yet I'd just seen lights, movement, and life. I turned back, but the road behind me was dark. The windows were black, the swing sat still, swallowed in weeds. The building looked just as it always had, ruined, silent, and forgotten. I went home in a daze and barely slept. A few days later, I mentioned it to my doctor, not because I thought it was supernatural, but because I genuinely wondered if something was wrong with me. He suggested stress, maybe a vivid daydream brought on by my running rhythm in the fog. I nodded and agreed. But the truth is, I've never believed that explanation. I ran that route dozens of times afterwards, hoping, maybe even needing to see it again, but I never did. Eventually, the school was torn down and the lot repurposed, though I never quite got used to passing that spot. Still, when nights like this roll in, when the fog thickens and the cold drizzle returns, I think about what I saw. This happened this summer at a barbecue I had with some of the neighbors on our street. Typical hot dog, hamburger, and potato salad. I had made a comment to my next door neighbors about how I should have made a green salad, but the heat wouldn't permit it. This is important to remember later. The afternoon carried on as normal. When the sun started to set, I suggested we get a game or a cornhole going. I have a board that I painted myself that glows in the dark with LED lights around the board, and I have bags that also glow, 4 pink and 4 green. We paired up and separated the bags, 4 green and 4 pink. After 3 rounds, the other team is up by 3 points, and it's now my turn. I throw my first bag, and boom, it sinks perfectly into the hole. You could see the pink illuminate through the hole clear as day. The other team lets out the typical "ugh" sound. My partner and I cheer. Our neighbors, who are just watching, all cheer. We continue on taking turns throwing our bags and the match ends. As the other side starts to collect the bags, I see them both look around for my pink bag that I made directly in. They can't find it anywhere. Now, there are no kids or pets to blame, and I thought maybe the other person jokingly hid the bag. They both tell me they hadn't touched it, and they look equally confused. Now, all of us spend the next 20 minutes searching my tiny backyard. We were dumping the trash can out, looking in the neighbor's yard, all to no avail. The bag was never found. So we called the game and figured we would find it later. We all kind of exchanged a "that strange" face with each other. Because if you ever played cornhole, you know when a bag sinks into the hole, there isn't really any other place for it to go besides under the board. I brush it off and start to tidy up a bit, clearing plates and empty cups, when I notice the table with all the food on it, and right in the center is a freaking salad. Did someone come late and bring the salad? I'm just standing there when I notice not only is there a salad, but it's in one of my own salad bowls. I'm floored. I don't want to sound crazy, so I casually ask each neighbor if it was them that brought the salad. They all said no. The neighbor I had made the comment to about making a salad, but knowing it wouldn't be good in this weather, remembered me saying that, and seeing that bowl, but never paid attention to what was in it. As the night ended and I'm cleaning up the rest of the mess, I decided to look again for the bag and never find it. My friend is inside washing dishes and asks me whose salad bowl did this belong to. I had figured maybe I did make the salad and had forgot I had done so the bowl was mine. Except when they went to put it away, my exact same bowl was already in the cabinet. I just stood there stunned, thinking how could that be? They even had the same tiny piece of the price sticker on the bottom of the bowl that no matter how hard I scrubbed, I couldn't get it off, and that clear sticky part remained. I'm a logical thinker, and I truly believe everything can be explained away some way or somehow, so I still tell myself that this has to be the case. Maybe the bag got picked up on accident. Maybe I had 2 bowls identical. Maybe I just forgot. But no one claimed the bowl or found the bag, so it will always leave a little doubt in my mind of what really happened that day. I've had a few paranormal glitches, but this is something I can't get my head around. So I was staying at my parents' place for the week, and my stepfather sleeps in the guest bedroom upstairs across from my mother, who has my little sister sleep with her. My parents are happily married, but there's not enough room in the bed for all 3. I slept in my old bedroom upstairs next to my mother's. I got up early around 7 a.m. about a week ago. I went to the bathroom and then checked in the room for my stepfather. I noticed he wasn't anywhere, and the bed covers were made. So I thought he went out somewhere. I then looked into my mother's room, and it was just her and my sister. I then went downstairs for coffee and looked out the front door, which was locked, to see all the cars were in the lot. I then checked all of the downstairs, asking if Chris, my stepfather, was there. No one. I went upstairs and I checked my mom's room again. No one else was in there but her and my little sister in the bed. This is where it gets weird. I checked the guest room again and no one was still there. I asked my mom where Chris went because I found this too weird, and she said he's sleeping in the guest room. No, he's not, I replied. Check the guest room. He didn't come in our room, she said. So I checked again and I freaked out. There he was, sleeping under the covers in the guest room. My stepfather, who vanished and reappeared like nothing happened. I asked my stepfather in the moment, waking him up, where he'd been, and he said, "I'm sleeping." I asked if we went anywhere, like to the bathroom or maybe somewhere else in the house. He said he was sleeping the whole time. I should note I don't do drugs. I get 9 hours of sleep at night, and I don't have schizophrenia or hallucinate. I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but I can't, and don't know how to explain it. Also, the floors creak and the walls are weak in the house. If he or someone moved, everyone would hear it, but I still asked if he went anywhere because that's the only rational, logical explanation. He keeps telling me he didn't, but I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not sure if this counts as a valid post here, but I have a story to tell that happened about 14 years ago. It was a school night, and our family had just had dinner: rice-a-roni, meatloaf, and green beans. I hated it. Anyway, about an hour or so passes, and I head upstairs to bed. Now, to get upstairs, we have 2 stairways. One leads to the kitchen, the other the living room, which then has the staircase to the bedrooms. I take the staircase leading from the foyer to the living room. As I head up the staircase, I see my little brother, around 5 at the time, run from his room to the bathroom, both located on each side of the top of the stairs leading up from the living room. I say out loud, "Man, you better get to bed before you get in trouble," when suddenly my little brother comes upstairs from the staircase from the foyer to the kitchen, a floor beneath me, and then passes me. He says, "Good night," then proceeds to go upstairs and then to go to his room and close the door. I stand there, frozen. If my brother was downstairs, then who did I see that ran from his room to the bathroom? Why did I think it was my brother? Or maybe I'm overthinking it and my brother has super speed. All jokes aside, I was so freaked out, I ran upstairs past the bathroom without looking to see what could have been in there, and I went to my room and closed the door. I waited that whole night for a face. It never came. But this night stuck with me for a while. Any theories on what it could have been? This happened a few days ago and I still can't wrap my head around it. I wasn't going to post, but it's been gnawing at me, so here it goes. For context, I live with my boyfriend Jake, and this whole thing happened within about half an hour, between 3:45 and 4:17 p.m. I was pulling a frozen pizza out of the oven when I heard the front door open. Jake came in, totally soaked from the rain. He dropped his bag, shook off his jacket, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Traffic was hell." I remember this exactly, his tone, the way he said it. He looked tired. He told me he was starving and went to change out of his wet clothes. The bedroom door closed. I remember glancing at the microwave clock. It said 3:45. A few minutes go by. I call down the hall to ask if he wants a slice. No response. I wait another couple of minutes and knock on the door. Nothing, so I open it. The room is empty. His wet clothes are on the bed, but he's not there. I check the bathroom. Nothing. I check outside. His car's in the driveway, but there's no sign of him. I call his phone. It goes straight to voicemail. At this point, I'm freaking out a little. Then, at exactly 4:17 p.m., I hear the front door open again. Jake walks in, still soaked, still dropping his bag and shaking off his jacket. Traffic was hell, he says, in the exact same way, like word for word, same tone. Then he kisses me on the cheek and heads to the bedroom. I stop him and say, "What the hell is going on? You already came home like half an hour ago. Where did you go?" He just looks at me like I'm nuts and says, "I just got here." I point to his wet clothes on the bed. He's totally confused, swears he's just now getting home for the first time. Then it gets even weirder. I check the microwave clock. It still says 4:17, but when I look at my phone, it says 3:46. So either the microwave glitched or time itself did. We've both been trying to rationalize it. Faulty memory, deja vu, power surge resetting the clock, etc. But I remember that first version of him being there. I talked to him, touched him. The clothes were on the bed before he got home. I have no clue what to make of it. Has anyone else ever experienced something like this? So this happened just last night, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I experienced. I drive a familiar rural road home every night, and usually I just put on some music and zone out. But last night was different. It was late, around 10 p.m., and there was a thick fog rolling in. I had the radio on, some old jazz station I like, and suddenly the static started acting weird. Not like normal interference, but like it was switching between frequencies or channels that shouldn't exist anymore. Then, through the static, a voice came on. It sounded really old-fashioned, like from a 1950s radio broadcast. Good evening, this is WMKT Ridgefield, broadcasting live from downtown Ridgefield. Tonight is October 25th, 1954. The temperature is a cool 48 degrees under the bright harvest moon. I glanced at my car clock. It was 10:13 p.m., October 25th, but 2025 obviously. I checked my phone to double check. Same date, same time, but current year. I tried fiddling with the dial, but every time I did, the static would flare up and the old voice and music came back. There were announcements about local events, like a high school autumn dance happening that night, mentioning the crowning of the Autumn Queen at 9:30 p.m. It sounded so vivid, like I was hearing a live broadcast from the exact moment in 1954. Feeling a little weirded out, I pulled over near the old train station just outside of town. It's been abandoned for years, but still stands on the edge of the road. I sat there with the radio on, waiting. At exactly 10:20, the broadcast came back again, clear as day. Welcome to Ridgefield High's Autumn Dance of 1954. Students and parents gathered for an evening of music, games, and refreshments. The static was there too, but beneath it was unmistakable, the sound of a live crowd, faint footsteps, music from a jazz band playing in the background. I sat there for a while, half expecting something else to happen, but nothing did. The radio stayed stuck on this weird time warp channel for maybe 15 minutes before snapping back to normal stations. I drove home slowly, the fog starting to lift, my mind racing. I looked up the autumn dance in an old newspaper the next day, and it turns out it really did happen on October 25th, 1954. The school had a dance every fall back then. I don't know what to make of it. The radio glitch alone was weird enough, but hearing a live broadcast from 70 years ago, complete with local details and background noise, it felt like a glimpse into another time. Has anyone else ever experienced something like this? A sudden, brief time slip, or a radio glitch that was way too real? So this happened just a couple of days ago, and honestly, it's been bugging me ever since. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but I'll lay it out as clearly as I can. My two friends, Matt and Sarah, and I decided to go for a walk on Saturday afternoon. We usually meet up for hikes or just stroll around the neighborhood to catch up. This time we picked a trail in a wooded area just outside of our town. It's a place we all know very well. We've been there dozens of times and it's pretty straightforward. A dirt path winding through the trees with a few clearings and a small creek. We started around 2 p.m., chatting about work and weekend plans, enjoying the unseasonably warm spring day. The trail was mostly quiet, a few birds chirping here and there, but nothing unusual. About halfway through the walk, we came to a clearing that I swear I've never seen before. It wasn't on the maps we'd looked at, and none of us had any memory of it. What caught our attention was a building, an old 2-story structure made of red brick, with tall windows and a sloping roof covered in moss. It looked like something out of a history book, the kind of building you would expect to find in a small town's main street, not hidden deep in the woods. I don't know how to describe the feeling we all had. It wasn't just surprise. It was a little unsettling, like we'd stumbled into a place that didn't belong. The building didn't seem abandoned exactly. The windows were grimy but intact, and there was a faint smell of wood smoke or something earthy in the air. Matt joked, "Did we accidentally find Narnia or something?" Sarah laughed but said, "I swear this wasn't here last time we walked this trail." We all started poking around carefully, trying to find any clues about what the building was or how long it had been there. There was no signage, no path leading to it. just the clearing and the building standing alone like it had always been there. The front door was locked, but the old brass handle was worn and cold at the touch. We looked through the windows. Inside, we could see what looked like a small library or study. Shelves of dusty books, a wooden desk with papers scattered on top, a fireplace with ashes in the grate. The place felt frozen in time. The kind of place someone might have left in a hurry. But why? And why hadn't we ever noticed it before? Sarah took some pictures on her phone while Matt and I kept checking the perimeter. The whole thing felt like a scene from a mystery novel, but with no explanation. After about 20 minutes, we started walking back, but something weird happened on the way out. As we left the clearing, the trail suddenly seemed unfamiliar. We took a turn that we swore was the way back, but instead of leading to the parking lot, it led to a thicker part of the woods, denser trees, shadows, and the trail disappearing under the leaves. We stopped and looked at the map on our phones. The GPS showed we were still on the right path, but the surroundings just didn't match what the map said. The trail on the screen was straight, but the trees around us curved in a way that made no sense. We tried to retrace our steps, but every time we circled back, the building clearing was gone. It was like it vanished entirely. The trees were just there, the dirt path continuing, but no sign of the brick building. Matt swore he saw a flicker of something through the trees when we looked back, like a shadow moving behind the branches. But when we moved toward it, there was nothing. We eventually found the real trail back, and it took us a bit longer than usual, but we made it to the parking lot around 5 p.m. Back home, I tried to look up any information about the building. Nothing came up. No local history pages, no photos, no mention in town records. It was as if the building didn't exist. We talked about it later, and all three of us agreed on the details. The clearing, the brick building, the library inside, but none of us had any explanation. We've all walked that trail multiple times, and none of us had seen or even heard about a building like that. I keep thinking about the trail looking different on the way back. The GPS telling us one thing, our eyes telling us another. It's like the clearing with the building was there just for a short time, and then slipped away, like it was never really there. I'm sharing this here because I'm genuinely curious if anyone else has had a similar experience, discovering something that shouldn't be there or places that seem to shift or vanish. It's like a glitch, but in real life. I'm planning to go back next weekend to see if the building reappears, but part of me is nervous it might. Has anyone else ever experienced something like this? What do you think it means? I live in rural Australia. The facts are fairly unique and too easy to identify. I'm also going to muddle the geographical details. I was bullied brutally in high school. One of the very few people who was friendly to me was a dude called Brad. We were only friends of friends, but anyone who was not making my life a misery stood out. In 1988, when I was 14, Brad was in a car accident. He died in hospital. He was only 18. Another boy I knew was also killed instantly in the same accident. An inquiry found there were issues with the roadway that were largely responsible for the accident. These had been neglected and a government body was found liable. Not long after that, the father of the other boy was arrested for, and eventually convicted of, multiple child sex offenses against nearly 24 children. All in all, very sad, a shit show and memorable for the wrong reasons. About a year and a half later, I overdosed on medication and lapsed into a coma. I survived by dumb luck and with minimal damage. I was, however, left with a small amount of permanent amnesia. Furthermore, the memories of the 2 years previous to the coma became very muddled. I did not and do not trust my memory from that period without external confirmation. One day, I abruptly started thinking about Brad for reasons I did not understand. It nagged at me until I looked up his death. At first, I could not find any of the dozens of newspaper articles I recalled about the events surrounding it, or any official records. My memory said the accident occurred late autumn 1989. Brad was supposed to have been taken by ambulance to City A, where he died. I clearly recalled taking flowers to his grave in Town A, my hometown, which is right near the crash site. I also recall being told when I went to take flowers to his grave again years later that his body had been moved. His parents took his death hard and moved right after the funeral. At the time, it made sense they may have moved him. It took a long time, but I eventually stumbled across the articles and records. I was wildly off regarding the date of his death. He died in Town B and was buried in City C. Town B has a smaller, less well-equipped hospital, and it is further away than a better facility in City A. It seemed odd when I read it that they would transfer a critical patient to Town B hospital. My husband agreed. Not long after that, though, I ran into a mutual associate of Brad and I, who had gone to the funeral in City C and confirmed that he was buried there. This was all very weird, but I wrote it off as yet another example of my scrambled brain. No, it turned out the reason I had started to think about Brad was because it was coming up on his 50th birthday. When my 50th birthday came up, the same nagging feeling reappeared, and I ended up revisiting the articles. To my surprise, I found a listing for a second grave, this time in Brisbane. His full name, date of death, and birth on 2 different headstones, one in City C and one in Brisbane, both existing concurrently, photographed and on a very prominent website. I presumed I just missed the second grave when I was searching the first time. This find made me doubt my original memories less. It made the scenario I recalled seem more likely. A few months later, I was telling a friend about the whole saga and went to show her the 2 graves. The grave in City C was gone, and in its place, a listing for Town D, a place 800 kilometers away from my hometown. The Brisbane grave remained. I was shocked. My husband likewise, but neither of us had an explanation. In the absence of any kind of answer, the matter faded to the back of my mind. Tonight, the teenage friend of my nephew suddenly died. My nephew is about the same age as I was when Brad passed. Feeling nostalgic, I went to Brad's grave online to pay my respects. As of tonight, Brad's place of death is listed as Sydney. The Brisbane grave is now gone. I don't know what to make of this. 3 other people can corroborate that I have not imagined or misunderstood the changes, so I know it's not my memory. Brad's parents both died well before his 50th birthday, and his sister had permanently moved to the United Kingdom before they died. I'm just confused and unsettled by this.